I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, making NFT from DeFi, being crypto poor but JPay rich.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Foo Styles.
I loved that. Your lack of understanding does not diminish your value. What a beautiful, beautiful parting statement. I think that reigns true for much things, but specifically for Web3, where there are not a lot of materials on how to educate yourself thus far. A lot of the majority of, if not all of the innovators on that bell curve I was speaking about earlier were self-taught or self-taught in the context of what they're creating now, right? Or they were the ones who created it. And then the next phase of people were the ones who had to teach themselves and then understand, okay, how can I innovate from here and build on top of it, right? Going from Bitcoin to Ethereum in this context of what I'm speaking about. So there's such an interesting time to say, hey, even though I have a lack of understanding, let's say this line right here is my lack of understanding, right? There's such an interesting time and a call where it says, yeah, it might take a little bit of effort for me to step over this. Yeah, I might not know what it feels like to step on the other side of this line, but let me just go ahead and do it anyway, right? And see what happens, because the only thing I could lose is nothing, really. Learning more about something that's absolutely going to be a part of your life in the future. Can you really lose? Creating relationships with people who are innovators in the space, can you really lose? That's why you've put yourself in such a beautiful position here, coming to Dcentral and taking the time out of your day, the time out of your schedule to learn and educate yourself, which is very valuable, and you should be very proud of yourselves, because guess what? I'm proud of you if you're not proud of you, so just know you have someone on your team. We've talked about metaverses today many times. We've talked about the infrastructure of metaverse. How do we create them? We've talked about what can you put inside a metaverse? What does an NFT look like inside of a metaverse? But let's talk about a new way of envisioning having ownership of something, but then putting a creative spin on it. And we're not just talking about your avatar, no, we're going one step further. Where's your avatar gonna even live? That's why I'm so excited to introduce to the stage Miss Tracy Hutson, who's gonna talk about designing your home in the metaverse, and her lovely guest. So please welcome them to the stage.
Thanks, everybody. Oh,
hello,
hello. You got your mic? You got your mic?
I do.
Sorry,
indeed.
I'm a late entrant. My name is Neil. I'm Tracy's tech guy.
Well,
I wasn't supposed to be here with all the weather and stuff like that. It's great to be here. I've got here just in time.
Just in time by the nick of, your hairy chin chin.
Austin is hot.
It is hot.
Mm-hmm. And so just in case you're not aware, Tracy Hutson is, there's two things you should know about her. She is, number one, from Austin.
Woo!
Everybody give us a thing. From
Hometown
Austin.
Girl. I live in LA, but
now LA, but originally from Austin.
Yes.
And has been the host of a little show on ABC's, on ABC, was on ABC, called Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Hopefully some of you have heard of that.
True story. Yeah, Picker Sisters. I had a show, Momtrage, on
So
Facebook.
we are talking about this, as far as interior designers go, we are talking about the real deal, Miss Hutson
right.
here. So that's
the real deal.
That was, so we have a legit expert on stage, and that's awesome. So Tracy, why don't you tell us a super little bit of background about how did you get from Austin to LA to be on Extreme Makeover?
Oh, you want to go way back, do you? Like an old relic?
I mean, there might be some people in the crowd here that want to follow that career path.
Yeah, I just, I was a brave, young, naive soul and decided to travel the world and ended up in Los Angeles. I started my interior design business very young. I started working with my grandmother and my aunt out of Beaumont, Texas, just on summers and holidays, and I knew that that's always what I wanted to do. So I was able to have a hybrid career where where I was doing commercials and print work, and
Right.
just merged the two and got cast for Extreme Makeover because I already had my business up and going in Los Angeles, and then
So
that
you
was
actually
10
have an
years.
entertainment background as well. I mean,
That's
have a
right. I'm
merger.
very entertaining now. I'm not sure if you know how entertaining.
Feel free to start whenever you're ready. No, just joking.
yeah. So yes. So a whole lifetime of being thrown into, again, a hybrid career of doing what I love the most, making people happy in their homes. It had a philanthropic aspect to it. I don't know who all's seen it out there, but it was absolute dream. It was a dream job. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I was
really,
able to.
It was really heartwarming in many episodes, correct?
Yeah.
A lot of people, so just so you know, Tracy has also been engaged with a company called ViRSE. They're exhibiting here at the show upstairs, and they've been on the circuit for the past several years, and it's actually coming up upon a reveal that's scheduled after an upcoming event in New York. Let's not name any other names right now. Let's not talk about any competing shows, but there's going to be some news revealing at New York. So Tracy has been lending her talents to ViRSE for the past several years now, basically for 3 years, right?
It was before COVID, not that
Yeah,
any of us really
pre-COVID.
remember back before COVID.
Yeah.
And wait, I'm going to cut you off, Neil. You're being very shy and humble.
Uh-oh.
This is the founder of ViRSE, Neil Chandran.
Co-founder, yeah.
Co-founder.
Tech guy.
So tech guy, yes. And the relationship where I met you, we met at a conference in Los Angeles ages ago, and really just thought that there was something to gain from both of our expertise, you being in tech, me being in design, and you were creating with your team.
She's kind of let the cat out of the bag. Yes, I will say that there was that fit, and I will and we will. So the relevance of the metaverse and design your home in the metaverse. And let me see if I can get this presentation that is absolutely stellar. I'm just kidding.
We have a presentation.
Don't hope for too much. Okay, designing your home in the metaverse with Tracy Hutson.
I can see.
Okay, there we go. So, I guess as a designer, you have been in the metaverse for your entire career, because something like that, which is both an advertisement and sort of an illustration,
Right.
is the type of world you have lived in before the metaverse even existed.
Right. So technology has definitely
Did
come
they
a
use
long
that at
ways.
ABC's makeover at all? Very much no, not really. It was
We
more...
were, it was a while back. Like
Right.
technology has advanced so quickly. So we were using CAD or Google SketchUp, but and it was a completely different entity because we were there surprising people, and we were able to just create these homes without them being involved. But
you see them on HGTV shows and stuff like
Sure.
that. This is like...
in my day-to-day life, doing restaurants or residential or offices, people want to see what their space is going to look like.
Right.
I think that people are becoming more accustomed to the fact of what a virtual walkthrough looks like. They really
Right.
want to see, touch, feel as much as they can without it being the real deal.
Right.
As close as you can get.
Yeah.
So with the new technologies
So this
coming
was
up-
not new. This was not new. You were not pulled into like a completely unknown realm with this type of technology. And so what I can share, let me see if the second slide works, because oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, I mean, we got a nice little, a nice little illustration here. So Tracy has worked on. So what is going to be shared more publicly in the coming weeks and months is that Tracy has also worked on behalf of ViRSE on at least three projects that are company-owned projects. And the first was one, and they happen to be on the West Coast. ViRSE is based on the West Coast, and so is Tracy, although we have now expanded basically coast to coast with presentations or presences in Miami. We're opening in Austin, actually, right after this show. and then New York. So we are actually in that sort of physical growth mode. But there's been 3 properties that you've worked on physically. You want to give it a quick recap of the types of properties that they were?
The first property that I was able to work collectively with ViRSE was a beach house in Newport. And so we got the modelers together, the whole tech side, to really just create that virtual space.
Right.
In the meta version of this beach house.
And I just want to say that's step 1 in the design process. You need to create or recreate, or in ViRSE's case, V-create the actual space that you're going to be working with. And that was sort of step 1 of the process. And that's why that was a project. By the way, everybody, to illustrate this better, we invite you to come to our booth. Now today, the exhibition is closed after this, or maybe even for a little while longer. But tomorrow, you can actually experience what we're talking about on some of the proprietary devices we had. So yeah, go ahead. Beach House was number 1.
Beach House was number 1. And again, to your point, there were a lot of parallels. So before we were able to do these amazing virtual diagrams and modeling the entire house, it was more archaic. It was, more beta version, how I would typically translate to a client. But this was really a virtual walkthrough of just the architecture and just the structures. And then we were able to have the freedom, I say we, but I had the freedom of going through and, suggesting certain sofas, different styles, different countertops, and really just give you options and versions of what the space could look like.
That is a huge other benefit and sort of differentiation of designing in the metaverse. Multiple options. You can have a home that looks like this today, that tomorrow, and something else on the 3rd day. And you can cycle through them, or you can keep them, or what have you. And we'll get to that, the takeaway there in a second. The next project that I liked, Beverly House.
I loved, yes, there was a house
Beverly
in
Hills, by the way,
Beverly Hills off of Coldwater Canyon. It was a beautiful space. We were able to, again, model what the interiors and the architecture look like, and then really have some freedom to play with what decor we were bringing in.
We had a couple of challenges with that one. Number 1, we had some items that the client demanded be included, like a poker table, which is not the most, aesthetically pleasing thing.
I think my eyes were about to pop out of my head after we designed the entire space.
And then you have some physical constraints, like how big of a room you have to put like a sofa bed. But the place came out beautifully, both in real life and also in the metaverse, and which we invite you to check out as well. It was brilliant. It was really good.
And one of the most fascinating and innovative experiences I had with this particular house was that we were able to bring an artist in whom I absolutely love. Her name is Sahara. And she does beautiful installations. One in particular was a bunch of butterflies. So she made all of these tiny butterflies for us that went up and down the staircase, but we were able to turn it into one of the first NFTs.
Absolutely. That's a huge takeaway for those of you that are here at this conference as to why a metaverse home even matters. Because you can't display a traditional NFT in a physical, well, you can with different screens, but ultimately a better place to reach a larger audience, especially when NFTs are essentially a product you're trying to resell, is using a digital showroom. And these show homes that are being created are essentially a showroom or a shop where you would resell your NFT for the highest profit if that's something you want to do. So that's another big takeaway and differentiation as to why a metaverse home even matters. And lastly, our pièce de résistance, if that's how you say it, was a big condo for the Four Seasons residences in LA.
Yes, the Four Seasons has a residence behind the hotel off of Doheny, whoever's familiar with Los Angeles. It's a new building, absolutely stunning. But we were able to go in and use it as a space, as a workspace, hybrid workspace, living space, and model the architecture again and really bring in the decor. We recreated it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Tracy both designed it in the metaverse as well as fulfilled it in real life. The place is it's multifunctional, it's multi-purpose.
And it looks beautiful. But maybe we have. Oh, maybe that was it. Sorry, that was the extent of our slide. We have a commercial that runs here actually that has a bit more graphics on it, to really sort of, I guess, illustrate the importance of design, which both matters in real life. People's homes represent them. Am I correct?
I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
It's an image of yourself, an extension of yourself. It's how you feel. It's how you live. It's how you want to reflect or bring in whatever it is into your environment, and being
you
able.
play up to that, of course, being a designer.
I love to walk into a space.
Do people even care? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they hire me, right? It's hard to articulate or to hone in on exactly what your style is sometimes. Sometimes you know exactly what you want, sometimes you don't, but to be able to share and create that universe virtually before you start pulling the trigger, because there are so many supply chain issues, budget, of course. So to really make that as real as possible before you purchase and move forward is huge.
So if it matters in real life, we can imagine and we can follow that it matters on the metaverse. It matters online just as much, if not more so, because only so many people are going to come into your physical home in real life. Whereas on the metaverse, hundreds, thousands, possibly millions. Like look, somebody like Snoop Dogg, for example, he designed a home in the metaverse, and I'm sure if he hasn't had millions of visitors, he's definitely had millions of people hear about it. That's for sure.
I want to go to Snoop's metaverse.
And
sure.
I did see another bit of news that was just released right before this show started. OpenSea, which is one of the big the biggest NFT marketplace, listed a $26.5 million New York building. I think it was a commercial property, but it was sold for $26 million. It was listed for $26.5 million in Ethereum. So this does translate to the physical world. So I would say that what you're doing now for a designer is probably the scope has expanded even further.
And to be able to own something tangible in real time and own its digital version,
yes,
so that you can have those experiences virtually with whomever you want to invite. It really just opens up the whole universe.
We've talked a lot around a subject, and we're basically for a reason, because we haven't done our release. But I really want to thank Tracy for coming on stage and giving this talk. And we urge every one of you to keep an eye on ViRSE and visit us upstairs at the booth. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for your time.